3.
My name is Mariana, and my poster is about, it was a situation that happened somewhat frequently in my class. It was a group of teenage students in a private English school. I no longer work there, but they were my students last year. And it was a small group. They were about 15 to 16 years old, and they were studying, they had been studying English for more than 10 years probably, so they were advanced students. And I would notice that often they would be making faces and holding up their cell phones. And I was curious, what were they doing? Why were they doing it? And this was something that happened often, whenever they were bored, I suppose, or just when they wanted to send a message to a friend. And then one day I decided to ask them why they like Snapchat so much. And they began to explain that it was fun, it was something casual that they send messages to friends through. And they also said something very curious, that in order to understand Snapchat, you had to be there. So I decided to make an account for myself, and then now I'll proceed to explain what is Snapchat and how it works. It's basically an app and a social media platform through which people can share images, pictures, short videos with stickers modified with filters that give you dog ears or put a flower crown on your head or something like that. And these images are sent back and forth by users who are connected. And the thing that makes it different is these pictures, they disappear after 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. You can stipulate how long it stays up. Unless you post it to your story. The story mode is a little different. These are snaps or pictures or short videos that you post throughout a period of 24 hours, and they will stay up on the platform, and anyone who is your friend there will be able to see and access them. And the thing that makes it different is the fact that it disappears. This was one of the things that I couldn't quite understand. Why do you want to send a message that disappears? But that is kind of the point. They can send silly messages or messages that aren't that serious, messages that are very casual, that are fun, that are jokes, inside jokes sometimes with groups of friends. And that's the point. It's a different way of communicating. And it is actually quite interesting. I found it rather interesting. Perhaps I'm not as, how can you say, fluent on Snapchat as they are, but I could see the appeal of something like it. And curiously enough, now many different social media platforms like Instagram and most recently Facebook also have the story mode option. So it's something that we see as a kind of a competition. So as I mentioned before, it was a group of students who introduced me to Snapchat and its many features and many social rules of how you act there. And it was a small group. They were, I believe, 7 or 8 students last year. And I also decided to do an activity with them using Snapchat. And the thing is, I asked them to record one of our lessons, and they could record whatever they wanted. Some of them recorded and sent me the snaps. Others recorded but didn't send me. I told them that it was up to them. and so they did. A few of them sent the snaps to me, and it was interesting to see how they interpreted that. I thought that they would document things like, oh, this part of the lesson I liked, this part of the lesson I didn't like, but actually it was much more random. For instance, one took a picture of the book, and there was a face in the book, and so he used the dog ear filter on the book and commented something like, oh, this is all this book is good for. I was like, okay. Others, they made a small video of part of the class in which we were listening to music, and it was basically that. So it was a lot more random. Or perhaps I see it as random, but it's not. We never know. And, but what I learned, and I say I because I assume they must have learned something. They must have found it interesting to explain to me, because they were actually very eager to explain to me how this worked and tell me how you're supposed to act, that you're not supposed to save other people's snaps because it doesn't look good and that kind of thing. But I didn't ask them what they learned directly, but I learned that there are many different ways to communicate, some that we sometimes don't quite grasp. But it doesn't mean that just because we don't necessarily understand them, that they aren't important and relevant for the people who use them. And I think this was the biggest takeaway from the whole experience. So that's basically it. Thank you.